Welcome, everybody, to the Eat, Pray, Faith podcast with Tracy Stroup, ND. That's me. I'm Dr. Tracy, your host today, and we have an exceptional feature presentation today with Jamie Dorley, CEO and co-founder of Nutritional Frontiers, which is my favorite brand of all times. Today, we're going to be talking about super biohackers and the value of having those in your supplement regimen. And I have to tell you, Jamie, I don't really know any other supplement companies that are doing what you do at Nutritional Frontiers. So why don't you give our audience a little bit of an introduction of who you are, your industry expertise, and we'll get started on these biohackers.
Well, first of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on here with Dr. Tracy. She is without a doubt my favorite speaker. If you've not seen her speak before, there's plenty of video content out there, and to see her live is second to none. I love what you're doing. When we met 10 years ago or so, we talked about solving the world's health problems. And, we're on this mission of making the world healthy. When I started doing this 33 years ago, I figured it would take about 20 years. And I'm still wondering if it's going to take another 20. But the incredible pioneers, from the co-founder, Dr. Weiner, yourself, our brand ambassadors, Dr. Len Bransowitz, Jacqueline Shedden, Paulina, the list goes on and on. We're working with Lori Roman and you with formulation. So we have a great team behind us. And, learned so much from all of our brand ambassadors and all of our incredible speakers. And something I really learned this week really hit home is we're in such a unique career that we chose, right? The opportunity to learn never ends. And I think that's really where the wisdom comes, is that, hey, you got to be open-minded to what's possible, because it wasn't that long ago. We were both personal trainers at a different time, of course, trained by Tracy or trained by Jamie. The concepts were very similar to what we do now. However, then it was easier, working out and following a great diet, doing the cardio, doing the training. Usually 3-4 months, people can make a lot of impact. But I think, as you highlighted a few years ago, doing some of our VIP dinners and professional training events, those days are over, folks, right? If you look at the combination of nutritional deficiencies, we're going to talk about a couple of these today, the essential fatty acids, magnesium alone, vitamin D. We know about a lot of these, and some of them we don't know. But nutritional deficiencies, look at toxicity. Gosh, it was, you were a little baby back in 1982, but that was the first time the U.S. EPA did a xenobiotic toxicity study, and they found plastic solvents, perfumes, dioxins in 100% of people's adipose tissue. That was 33,000 people. So in the last 40 years, has it gotten better or worse? Much worse. So you compound nutritional deficiencies with the amount of stress people are under, everyone living in fear, and most people. And then this whole toxicity issue. I mean, you were sharing some incredible things about the glyphosates last night, right?
Yeah, Dr. Stephanie Sneff has a great book, Toxic Legacy. Everyone should read it. Everyone should read it. And she's the lead senior research scientist at MIT. I mean, she's no dummy, obviously. And she's been there for 36 years. So highly reputable, extremely intelligent. And her book is actually easy to understand for just the layperson that may not have a scientific background. And it gives you just some really good highlights on the impact of that. So, what you and I always talk about is people are too sick today to out pharma or out supplement the new type of dis-ease that we're seeing in society. We're in an instant gratification world and they want instantaneous results. So what's happened is you have these people rise up and they start giving advice on health. And now there's just mass confusion because there's a different way for every single ailment, because we keep going after the symptom, the end expression. And what I always hear and learn from you is your formulations contain ingredients that go back to the root of the issue. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, are these super biohackers that if you utilize them, they actually can go back and biohack or go around genetic mutations, inflammatory responses, and get to the root and start to fill gaps. And then there's even more of a dilemma that we're in a sea of products. I mean, there's a company that for everything. So can you just start high level before we get into these super biohackers? Can you just tell us about quality of supplementation? Because that's what I learned from you, from raw ingredients to manufacturing matters. And I just want to position your product company first against all others with the quality, integrity, research, all of the things that you provide at Nutritional Frontiers. So take that away. Tell us how.
Yeah, first of all, we're a transparent business, right? You know who the owner is. We're a faith-based, family-owned, mission-driven, Pittsburgh-based company. It's me as the sole owner. We don't have any outside investors or boards that we have to listen to or appease for profitability. My son is director of operations. He has a biology and chemistry background. And we have a great team of people internally, and then our brand ambassadors like yourself. And I've been taking supplements of some sort since the late 70s. My brother was 5 years older, so he turned me on to the protein shakes. And back then, they were not very pleasant, of course. Over the years, they've gotten better and better. But it really started when he first put on pumping iron for me. So in the mid to late 70s, we got into working out at a young age. And we were always trying to see what can we do. So it started with protein powders. And, there was so much misunderstanding about quality. And then there was inconsistencies over the years. And then what happened in 1994 was the government stepped in and said, well, hold on a minute. We want consistency for two things and only two things. One is purity. So when we say there's no soy in our product, there's no soy. The other one was potency. So we say 500 milligrams of DMG sitting in that chewable right behind you. I see it. Then there's 500 milligrams in there. So that's what the Deshay Act actually did. Our favorite, enter DMG. Yep. So what the Deshay Act was called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. This is all on our website under quality. You can read up on it. You can also watch some of our videos. I'm going to do some training today on it. So the Supplement Health and Education Act took supplements and put them in its own category, which was great for us. It put them in a food-based category. And part of that was that they streamlined the CGMP, which means current good manufacturing practices. So the whole concept, Tracy, is that the ingredients coming in are tested. The facilities are super clean. So what comes out of it's going to be clean. However, it doesn't mean the product is great. It means it meets the label claim. There's no bacteria or microbes in it. There's no heavy metals. And that has a certificate of analysis. You can still make a very cheap product in a GMP lab. It just means that it's guaranteed for purity and potency. So something like calcarbonate, a very poor absorbing form of calcium, you can make in a GMP lab. It still meets label claim. It's bacteria free. It doesn't have any heavy metals. The difference is that your body is not going to have the bioavailability of that calcarbonate like it would an MCHC. So it's similar to restaurants, right? You can go have the health department. They inspect Mickey D's and Capitol Grill, right? So you have a very low-end restaurant and a high-end. What's the difference between those two? It's not cleanliness. They're both super clean. The difference is the quality of ingredients. So stop looking at just dosing or ingredient, but look at dosing. The form of the ingredient is more important than the dose. 100% real beef at Mickey D's versus grass-fed, dry-aged beef at Capitol Grill. There's a difference in the quality of the ingredients selected, just like at Nutritional Frontiers. The other part of it is that there's nothing that we don't want in there. You take a Centrum vitamin. Well, how do you think they're blue or yellow or green or red? Artificial dyes and coloring. So the last thing you want to do is take a really cheap product that has low doses, poor forms, and other toxins in there we don't want. Right? This whole thing with, it's still good even though it's cheaper. It's not, because you actually need therapeutic doses, not only of one ingredient, but multiple. So one is the quality going in. You need the right ingredients. Nutritional Frontiers, we use the active vitamins. We use the covalent bonded chelated minerals. I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Plus over 50 PRTs, patented research trademarked ingredients, like the DMG right behind you. So I'm going to make this as simple as possible. You ready?
I'm ready.
Hopefully I'm not going to spill my NF drinks. Shake a bottle here. So some water and a shake. So if you think about magnesium, the most efficient mineral on the planet. So minerals are unstable. Calcium, magnesium, zinc, vanadil, they're all unstable. They need to be stabilized. And how you stabilize them determines their bioavailability. It means how the body absorbs them, assimilates, and excretes them. So to get the best result, you need the most bioavailable form. So if you take magnesium, which is unstable, and put it with oxide, that's a rock, it's about 1 to 8% bioavailability. Now you can get a little better and do citrates, which I normally recommend if they have constipation. Then the next level, you've heard about amino acid chelated minerals, right? So they take the mineral magnesium and they put, say, glycine on it and they chelate it, and that's more absorbable, right? But think about the magnesium like a beach ball. We hold it with one hand, we're good. What if we turn it upside down? We'll drop it. So magnesium needs 2 hands on it, just like a beach ball. That's why we use something called magnesium bis, like bicycle 2 glycinate. So that's magnesium with 2 glycines. It holds it like 2 hands. And no matter where that magnesium goes in the body, it's bioavailable.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's really easy for product companies out there to say that they have CGMP certified facilities, good manufacturing practices, because that was kind of like the big drive a couple of years back. All these product companies were like, well, our products are made in these CGMP certified facilities. And what I'm hearing from you is that they have to be. That's standard.
Yeah.
They all have certificates of analysis. They have to. That's standard. Because when the FDA came in and they clarified purity and potency, there were regulations that all product companies have to abide by. But secondary to that is they don't all have to have good quality raw ingredients. They can source whatever they want from wherever they want. And I think it's important just to point out maybe a few raw ingredients, like you were saying before, grass-fed beef, or grass-fed cows for your proteins. Make that distinction just real simple, because that's a big one for me. And I
Yeah.
know as practitioners, we know that, but people don't know that. People don't understand that if you go get a protein powder off of a big box store shelf versus one from your company, what's the difference?
Yeah, the biggest difference on the whey protein alone, right, is ours is lactose free, right? So my friends' companies that are lactose free have great proteins. A lot of proteins are not lactose free. Why? They don't want to pay the extra money to clean the lactose out. So how does a person feel when you do a shake that has lactose in it? A little fluffier, right? Some extra gas, some
Mhm.
bloating, maybe diarrhea, pain, constipation. We don't want that. That was around in the late 70s and early 80s, right? That's all you had. Now with innovations and technology improving over the last 40 years, you don't have to do that. Our super shake, which is our vegan shake, we don't add anything to it. There's like 5 ingredients, 3 types of vegan protein, MCT oil, and fiber. That's it. So we don't add any extra nutrients to these. There's no chemicals added to the processing of it. So it's really important that you know the sourcing of the ingredients and not only what they have, but what they don't have. We don't use any artificial flavorings, colorings, dyes, additives to those. But you mentioned ingredients. What about, your alphabet soup, DMG, dimethylglycine, otherwise known as darn mighty good? There's 5 US patents on it.
Wow.
And how many of your patients or colleagues' patients, when someone comes in with an autoimmune condition, what is their medical doctor told them?
Right.
Yeah.
That it's not curable. You can't do anything about it. The body's attacking itself. So you get all these words that are physiologically and biologically not completely true.
Yeah.
So we need those biohackers because there's no hope in the medical system, right? But in our profession, that's what we give. We're hope givers. And I believe that you can give the body something, fill a pothole, build a bridge, and remove some carnage, and your body will do what it's supposed to do. So
Yeah.
that's my belief.
Yeah, if you give the body what it needs, it'll heal itself, right? We have videos of people with stage 4 cancers, people that walked into their doctor or health food store with a cane and don't have their cane anymore. Like these are miraculous results for some people. And you got to be open-minded. We always say that the mind's like a parachute. It works much better when it's open, right? So you got to be open-minded to the power of these nutrients. You look at DMG, right? They walk in with an autoimmune condition. That's how my career shifted way back in 1989 from sports medicine to what we consider natural healing, and now functional medicine has been called integrative, complementary, holistic, alternative. It's the same thing, folks. This is actually conventional medicine because it's been around thousands of years.
Right.
Modern medicine has really only been around since the 20s and 30s, right? So if you
Mhm.
look back at it, that was my introduction to this because I got psoriasis really bad in school, wasn't sure what was going on. You know me, I like to ask quite a few questions. So I kept going back to the health center. And then finally the doctor's like, well, it could be stress on your liver. Do you drink? Are you under stress? Like, no, doc, I'm in college. None
I
of
eat
that's going.
100% organic and I never touch the stuff, honestly.
Yeah, no stress, no alcohol. I'm in the library a lot. So
Mhm.
you're living away from home. Maybe the diet's not clean. You're trying to figure it out. You're having some alcohol and the stress and everything. But it caught it. It caused a candida infection, right?
Mm.
To where my body was 90% covered, and I was told there's no cure and it is genetic. So after calling every relative that I knew, and found nobody else has it, I said, well, that's out. It can't be
It's
genetic.
amazing. You had a genetic condition that no one in your whole family had. Wow.
And it just popped up in my at 20 years of age. I wasn't born with it, right? And even Dr. Bland, my mentor, said, for some conditions like sickle cell anemia, you got maybe a 25 or 30% genetic predisposition, but most of them are around 10 or 11%.
Yeah.
So he says, even at your worst, you have 70% impact on your health. And
That's
usually
such
it's
a
90.
great statement. Even if you have a 10 to 20% predisposition, you still have 80 to 90% control over your health of not
Yeah.
expressing it. And that's how we have to think of it, right? Glass half full rather than half empty all the time. But that's what the medical system will do to you. They make you look at the half empty glass all the time. And so we need to fill those glasses back up. But that's one of my favorite kind of stats that you reversed and you said. So that
Yeah. And
always,
look at me. I had it on 90% of my body. It's very embarrassing as a young male, going to the beach or going to the pool.
yeah.
Just in general, it's very painful. You're not sure what's going on. So I did a lot of digging, and through just some, I just felt the need to change my diet, right? Because I was in school gaining weight, getting skin issues, and I was like, what's going on here? I've always, been in decent shape, always worked out. So I just instinctively decided to start changing my diet, right? So I thought what I knew was healthy. It was healthier. And then over the years, I've changed more and more to where I've had an occasional flare up. It's usually do some kind of food, usually sugar,
Mhm.
like a banana or something like that. So anyway, when that was a big shift in my career, when I realized at that point going into personal training like you, is that you can have a lot of impact on someone's health, right?
Yeah.
So, you look at something like DMG, dimethylglycine, 5 US patents, the one we talked about, modulating the immune system in the treatment of inflammatory disease like rheumatoid arthritis. It only made sense to put it in something like the GI Complete. So we shared some videos at our event this week where we had a young lady that stage 4 chemo resistant non-operable cancer. It was a death sentence.
Colon cancer. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
colon cancer. You saw the video, right?
Mhm.
Where she was told, hey, you only got a few months. This is it. She went to Oscar Sierra, one of our clients down in Atlanta. He's an herbalist, and he put her on a really strict diet, started detoxifying her, building up her energy levels and her detox capacity. And lo and behold, about a year later, she felt so good. She took a trip to Hawaii,
She
went
took
there.
a celebration trip to Hawaii because she was deemed cancer free.
Good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was what she had said in the
Yeah.
video. So, and it kind of really impacted me because I was like, how many people get to that point where they're going to take a celebration trip and be like, I am cancer free. We're going to Hawaii. So,
Especially here, stage 4, right? You hear the big C about
right.
anybody, you're like, what stage is it? 1 or 2?
Mhm.
Okay. You hear 3 or 4, you're like, oh, okay. Sorry to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's
No, yeah.
scary, right? Because it's taken so many of our family members, my mom, relatives, grandparents, neighbors, and it's still a struggle today. I got 3 or 4 close family members that are struggling, right? So it's a big part of our mission is making the world healthy. So this young lady took that celebratory trip to Hawaii, was partaking in some richer foods and a couple of those frozen drinks, and after about 10 days, didn't feel real good. Was really nervous. She said she forgot her GI Complete, which is
Mhm.
great for the immune system in the gut and also has DMG in it. Lo and behold, got back from the trip, started taking 2 scoops of GI Complete per day. And you remember what she said?
She actually said she was so scared that she scheduled a PET scan and a bunch of other things just to rule everything out. But when she got back, she took a double dose and immediately felt better, like immediately. So, and also just so everyone knows, she was scared because she thought that her cancer came back, and
Yeah.
that's where you psychologically go after having something like that spoken over you. And then all of a sudden, a year later, but guess what? No cancer, still 100% cancer free. So even with a trip to Hawaii, even with forgetting our supplements a little bit, but I think, and the point to that as well, not only is it a miracle and wonderful testimony to the strength and beauty of your products, but that she does have a slight compromised system now.
Yeah.
It had been impacted by lifestyle and or whatever, and she may have to be on a maintenance of GI Complete or similar products like that with your probiotics and other things forever. And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
I would rather be on something forever that tastes great and know it's helping my body than to worry forever that something was going to come back. So it's really about looking at that, like where are we going to put our thought processes and our priorities, right? She chose to put them in your products, which was
Yeah.
a
And
choice.
everyone's different. Years ago, I had a really bad infection, so I had to get medical intervention. And, that's when IV antibiotics, and antibiotics are miracle workers. I don't use them daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, but those rare times you really need them. And for me personally, I have to use our superbiotics. It has
Hmm.
all the patented research strains of probiotic from Danisco. These are actually, they're able to identify the probiotic, make sure it is that strain of probiotic. It can pass through GI. So you're looking at enzymes and hydrochloric acid and bile and stuff that get passed there. Actually, they get somewhere in the intestinal tract and they do their job. And I
Hmm.
noticed when I started to come off them, my waist would get a little puffy and my belt would get tighter. And I look at all the new research you're presenting in Dr. Land and Harvard about the gut microbiome is really tied into someone's weight, right? The
Right.
type of bacteria, that's fascinating to me. So I see where we're going in the field. And it's got me more committed than ever now because I see, wow, this is the connection between GI and not only weight, but anything. And her
Right.
case was cancer. My case was with bloating and candida. You have many cases where you use the DMG. And I know, interesting enough, that was your first exposure to Nutritional Frontiers. You want to share that? Because I love it because it was with an infant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a lady who brought her baby in. He was about 6 months old, and she had other children that were older, healthy. And this baby was just sickly, just always sick, 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 and just was, I wouldn't say failure to thrive, but close. He wasn't sitting up as much as he should, growing. And this particular mom, this baby was unvaccinated, and healthy. She was an organic farmer, like just everything that they could possibly do, they were doing. And so I tried everything with this kid. I mean, all the protocols, all the things, diet, nutrition, and just nothing was working. And so I called my rep at the time for Nutritional Frontiers, which was Mike Gallagher. Ironically enough, Mikey G has the same name as DMG. So we always call him Dr. Mikey G, and then there's DMG. So it's, but he said to me, he said, Tracy, he's like, why don't you try some DMG? And I had just brought it in because he had just introduced it to us at the clinic. And I was like, okay, well, how much? Like a drop? And he was like, no, no, no. Give the baby a full dropper full. I was like, Mike, the baby's 6 months old. He's like, yeah, I know. Full dropper full. And I said, okay. So I called the mom. She brought the baby in and she was, kind of like, well, what's it going to do? And I'm like, no idea. I don't know. So we gave the baby the dropper full right there. And then we just sat there and waited. And you know what? Nothing happened. He was fine. She took him home, went about her day. And the next morning she called me and she said, I have no idea what you gave him or why it worked, but he is crawling, sitting up, vibrant, happy. She's like, I'm coming back. I need 3 more bottles. I'm putting all my kids on it. And that's how it started. So at that point, I think I called Mike and I was like, told him the story. And he gave me the book by Dr. Roger Kendall, Building Wellness with DMG. And I just started to read through it and amazing research on this product. And it was like this best kept secret. And now your formulations have it in a lot of the formulas that you make have DMG as either just an ingredient in there or a therapeutic ingredient. But it is one of your super biohackers that I love to use along with other ones. But let's stay on this one for a little bit. Just tell us a little bit about dimethylglycine, the history, and
Yeah, it was actually studied in Eastern Europe. They found this, actually my friend's grandfather started using for thoroughbred horses, and his horse's recovery and performance went up. It helps the body utilize oxygen better. You methylate in every cell in your body, not just in the liver. That's why it works great in the brain, the heart, the joints, the gut. It works great everywhere in the body because it helps support methylation. And really, if you look at all the production of glutathione in the body, it takes about 41 transmethylation steps. So a nice thing with DMG, it takes a lot of guesswork out of it. It falls apart in the body so you don't have to. And it feeds all the steps. And it really helps a lot of these genetic predispositions. I know MTHFR is a simple one to talk about, but there's so many of these, SNPs, these single nucleotide polymorphisms that they're just really learning about. But the great thing with the DMG, you can circumvent those. One of the U.S. patents is for melanoma in animals. So we've had numerous anecdotal case studies and reports back that dogs with melanoma got improvement on the liquid, because the liquid doesn't have any xylitol. We have a chewable too. But the liquid DMG is great to put in pets' bowls, kids, doesn't matter, works really well. But what they did with the animal study with DMG and melanoma was that they showed a picture of the tumors, right? And then they injected DMG in the tumor, and about 8 weeks later, 80–90% of the tumors are gone. I'm not
Wow.
making any claims. I'm just sharing with you the published studies
Well, we didn't
and
do it.
US
It was a
patents.
public study,
Yeah.
right? We didn't do it.
And there's pictures to show it. I love those because the picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Some of the other studies are when you combine it with the green lip mussel for joint health. So we have in things like our X-Flame. So we use DMG in more of these formulations because, the co-founder was Dr. Weiner. He owned originally the Pain Release Clinic, and then Weiner a Wellness Center. It's now World of Wellness. And the thing that's great about the World of Wellness is that we have a lot of the top brands out there, some of the professional brands that are leading. What we find is even the top companies, the formulations are not as comprehensive. So the
Right.
protocols tend to be wider. You got to take 4, 5, 6 things, like our GI Complete with the DMG in it. That was 6 different products I have to recommend to seal and heal the gut. It's impossible. People are saying,
Yeah.
well, why do I got to take all of these? Why don't you put them in one? The patients get it. The
Right.
companies wouldn't do it. So we did is we said, okay, we like the glutamine, we like zinc carnosine, we like aloe, slippery elm, marshmallow, DMG. Let's put them all together. Each one of these ingredients are therapeutic. Zinc carnosine is the only thing that can help H. pylori. Typically, if you got H. pylori, they'll give a triple antibiotic therapy. It works about 80%. When you add the zinc carnosine, it brings it to 100. So there's where the art of what we're doing, really comes into play. You can take something like GI Complete and use it in combination with some of the modern medicines. So 5 U.S. patents on it. We like to take the ingredients that are research, put them in formulas, combine it with other research ingredients, so you have a more comprehensive formula. So as a healthcare professional, you'll get better results and better value because, you can't buy these direct. So you're not going to find these ingredients out there and try and combine them yourself. It's too expensive and too much time involved. But with us and our training program with Dr. Tracy and our team, you can really look at these comprehensive formulas, get better results for your practice and better value for your business and for your patients.
Yeah. Well, DMG, either by itself or in your other formulas, it's, it's a wonder and it just works so well. And the other thing I think is important is it's safe. You can take it with any medication. There's no contraindications and the dosage, right? I mean, what did they test? That poor person that did 4,000 doses at one time,
Yeah.
and no contraindications, no side effects. It's an amazing supplement. So you can buy it in an isolate form as just dimethylglycine, or you can find it in many of the comprehensive formulas with Nutritional Frontiers. And I'm going to link all these things in the details of this podcast. So you'll be able to look at these products, find them, buy them for your family or for yourself. If you're a healthcare provider, I will send you a link to the wholesale side for Nutritional Frontiers to sign up, and it'll be awesome. All right, so let's move into our next biohacker. What do you want to do next?
I like SPM.
All right, good.
Right? Specializing pro-resolving mediators. This was actually studied with Dr. Bland in Harvard Medical School. And what they did is they gave the rats a lethal injection of a toxin. And then some of the rats actually survived. And they're like, oh, why? Why couldn't we kill them? Right. And what they looked at was they had these pro-resolving mediators. So if you look at omega oil would be here, right? You get 1,000 milligrams of oil in the soft gel. EPA and DHA are a deeper concentration of the oil, and a much deeper level is called SPMs. So they actually have omegas in them. So first question I get, you don't have to take them with the omegas. Think of the SPMs as really that therapeutic formula that you need to get people out of a crisis, and you can use it acutely or chronically. So there's over 2,000 published studies on SPMs.
Wow.
If you look at them just on COVID alone, this is on PubMed, over 1,000 studies on the benefits of SPM and COVID. When I had COVID, I was taking SPMs 3 up to 3 times a day. And, that I think was the single thing that really got me over the hump. I know you've had people that have suffered from COVID long-term, long haulers, the vaccine, no vaccine, doesn't matter. It seems to work really well at these deeper levels of inflammation. And I look at it as chewing up the inflammation and then accelerating healing.
Right.
And if you look at all those published studies, rather than reading them all for the next year, we can summarize some of those today. Pain's down almost 30% in 4 weeks, right? So it gives hope again to people in chronic pain. I use it acutely. I like 3 soft gels twice a day for acute. My neck is about 90% today, from all the traveling, the planes, sleeping in beds, and, just really not always being home. The neck was getting tight from, especially being on the plane. So I actually found working out was better for my neck. So it goes back to Dr. Bob's, whole thing with movement. A lot of people think rest, rest, rest. Sometimes, in any recovery, you need to start moving a little bit more. So for acute pain, it worked great for me. The other thing I liked is looking at the published research, fibrinogen rates. Let's hear why that's so important, because they normalize in about 4 weeks.
Right. That's
So,
amazing. Well, just pause for a second, because I want to go back to pain, because I think we have a pain crisis in our country.
oh yeah.
And the only solution that the medical system offers is repression of pain. And in order to repress pain in your body, you have to manipulate a system. And when you do that, there's always a side effect, right? COX-2, COX-1, all of those pathways. I don't get too technical, but just know that most NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they will work on one or both of those pathways. And usually if you are suppressing one pathway, you are suppressing the other. And those pathways, one creates inflammation and the other one creates regeneration of tissue and healing. But you can't suppress one without the other. And this is why you would see gastric bleeds, cardiovascular incidences by using these NSAIDs, because most of the regeneration, those pathways are in the gastrointestinal and cardiovascular. So your pain might be in your elbow, and that COX-1 is being repressed now by the drug, but your gastrointestinal rebuilding cells and your cardiovascular are also being repressed. So while you're decreasing pain, you're destroying your GI tract and your cardiovascular health by using an NSAID. And that's not all of them. I'm just giving an example. So the SPMs can actually step in and modulate the right amount of inflammation with the right amount of healing. And so that's really what they do. They calm the storm, but create one if needed, and then calm it when we're done. So I think it's important for people to realize, again, we're going to talk about SPMs as its own standalone supplement, biohacker, that does something healthy for your body, helps with pain, And remember, pain's part of your immune system. So we can't really segregate, right? Oh, you have a viral infection or a bacterial infection in SPMs, and you have a sore elbow. It's all pain. It's all stimulation of the immune system to get an immune inflammatory response. If you're sick or if you bumped your elbow, it's the same thing. So SPMs work really great with that. And the other thing is that you can use it in conjunction with other things. So I just wanted to touch on that because I think we try to, even in our field now, segregate the body out, like use this over here. And then it's all root cause. The root cause that we're talking about right now is inflammation. That SPMs are going to come in and biohack, just like DMG was methylation. Now we're at inflammation. And so inflammation for elbow pain or inflammation because you got COVID, your body doesn't care. It needs specialized pro-resolving mediators to take care of it. Okay, I'll stop talking now.
No,
Back to
that
you.
was fantastic. I love it the way you explain it so eloquently. You know, that's where you can combine things like GI Complete to cool the gut down. We have SPMs in a liquid or a soft gel now. You can use those in conjunction. A lot of people use the X-Flame SPMs and HA Plus for joint health, cool down and rebuild and remodel, right? And if you think about it, you know, some people that watching this may have more of a science background, some don't. Think about medications in general. I always look at the analogy of, okay, if you have a problem with the light in your kitchen, right, you can shut the light switch off, which would be local, right? You can shut the power off of your house, which would fix the kitchen light, but you have other problems because the TV's not working, other lights in the house are working. You could shut down the power in the city, which would give you the help you need in your kitchen, but it have a lot more side effects, folks. So the more medication you use that are going to shut things down, the more ramifications in other parts of the body. Think of the body as a web of health, not this whole bunch of body parts kind of connected together, right? Everything impacts everything. So the more we get to that local problem, the better we're going to be. And the more we can address the underlying cause, the better we're going to be. I learned from you and a lot of people on our team, the biggest underlying causes are going to be bacteria, yeast, and candida, parasites, or hormones and thyroid. So if you start thinking along of what's causing that problem, most of it's lifestyle, too much medication, poor food, stress, things we've been talking about, nutritional deficiencies. So the more you can go to that cause, the better you'll do. And SPM actually does that. It goes to the root cause of the inflammation, and rather than shutting down the power for the whole city, it's going to fix it in the kitchen, which therefore you don't have the problems throughout the body, because it actually does work on PGE2, prostaglandin, pro-inflammatory PGE2, which is great to cool that down. It normalizes that in about 4 to 8 weeks. So the research on not only DMG, but SPMs is fantastic. There's thousands of studies on this ingredient alone. And, in science, it's still brand new, but we've been using it with so much success the last few years. So I love DMG and SPMs as super biohackers.
Yep, I love them. And they work great together too. So let's go to the third one. Which one are we picking?
We have so many. We did talk about one other one before, which was the minerals. I want to just circle back on that a little bit because we used Albion Trax Minerals, TRAACS. That stands for the real amino acid chelates. We talked about that bisglycinate, the two glycine molecules holding that magnesium together. And we do that with everything. I know from going to your training on Beyond the Blood Work, which is an incredible course. If you haven't taken Beyond the Blood Work yet, it's okay. I'll give you one more chance, but you better sign up for it.
We'll put the link.
Yeah, let's put the link up. No, seriously, because this has tremendous impact, right? There's so many testing modalities out there, but if you do her course, you'll learn something. I'm going to give away one trade secret for free. And it always rings in my head because I did nutritional consults. I remember the guy that walked in, he was an engineer, and I saw eosinophils were high, and he had chronic diarrhea, and I was like, you got parasites. He had a stack of testing from UPMC about this big. And he goes, someone tested me for that a couple of years ago. I go, were you positive? He goes, yeah. I go, what they do? He says, nothing.
Nothing.
So you can look like a miracle worker just looking at candida, parasites, thyroid, and hormone, right? So taking the course Beyond the Blood Work can really help you identify what's causing the blood ranges to go out. And in his case, parasites. These are
Wow.
things you can that pop off real easy. I want you to talk about the iron, easy iron that we use, the Ferrocal, that
Mhm.
patented trademarked ingredient. Because again, it's iron bisglycinate, two glycines holding that iron together. I know it's a big part of your course. Can you expand a little
It
bit on
is.
that?
Yeah. So in the CBC with differential, the biggest part that we talk about there is the ability to recover, which is methylation. And then you need the nutrients to be able to do that. And iron is in every cell in the body. It's, what I call the main conductor, right? So he's going to help with oxygenation, methylation, phosphorylation, acetylation. He's in all of those things, and he's a mineral. And so many people think that, we forget that metals, iron is a metal, and that metals are minerals, and they compete for the receptor sites of your cells. So if your iron's low, your cells need something to bond to, and they're going to pick up the next best thing, the next best mineral, which could be lead, cadmium, aluminum. It doesn't discriminate. It's whatever can stick on that receptor site. So it can appear and does appear that we have a heavy metal issue in our society. I'm not going to say that we're not exposed to metals. Of course we are, but we've been exposed to metals for a very, very long time. The question is, why are they so prevalent now? And it's my theory and belief it's because our minerals are so low in our body. Our minerals are low in our soil. We talked about that because of the use of herbicides, pesticides, and chemical farming, chemical fertilizers. But our minerals are low in general because we're not eating a wide variety of foods. And even if we are doing that, the foods aren't always nutrient dense. So you need to replace those minerals, and iron being the key, but also the other ones. We need to mineralize ourselves again because we're not getting it anymore. And because they're using things like glyphosate, that is a chelator. What do chelators do? They bind to minerals, which are metals. So anytime you go to a practitioner and they want to do a heavy metal cleanse on you, they're going to use a chelator of some sort. You see a lot of supplements that have like EDTA in it. And I'm like, whoa, hold the phone, a little bit aggressive here. We may just need to mineral balance more than destroy this person with chelation. And there have been people that have had really bad side effects to chelation, especially IV chelation, because they're out of balance with minerals. So it's really important that we're doing a mineral backing with anybody that you're doing a heavy metal cleanse. And glyphosate, the number one herbicide that's in Roundup that your neighbor's probably spraying in their yard to kill the dandelions and weeds, and that industrial farming uses on their crops, is 300 times more chelating than EDTA. So it's taking minerals out of the soil, out of the plant, and then you eat it, it takes it out of your body. Everybody needs minerals every single day, and iron especially. And I don't care if you're a woman that went through menopause and they tell you not to eat iron or take iron supplements. No, you don't want to be overdoing it, but having a nice level, 150 micrograms a day, something small, something that's just standard, is totally fine and healthy, and you need it. So that's my little spew on iron. I
I
think we
find it interesting when they tell people not to eat green leafy vegetables. Sure, doc, no problem. Don't
right.
take iron, no problem. You tell someone, hey, don't use dairy. I can't, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about compliance. And it's interesting. I'm thinking back to Dr. Franny Perez. She was one of our first brand ambassadors. She's a MD, ND out of Pittsburgh and actually graduated from the original class of Bastyr. And she had a
Wow.
master in homeopathy. She's actually coming to town next week. I can't wait to see her.
Uh,
And she was like helping with DMG and formulas at the beginning and stuff. And she always said, and you said something the other night at the training, was that, when you have candida, there's heavy metals involved, right?
mhm.
And, if you go after the heavy metals with the candida, then, the fruit may not be an issue or, some of the dietary
Exactly.
restrictions.
Yeah, candida
So,
like to help the body hide things, but it's really opportunistic. So you have a cell that's sick because the receptor sites have metals on them. And so the bacteria in your gut is going to try to adjust because it's the foundation. And so when that starts to happen and you start to get higher levels of metals and you don't get the conduction of oxygen and methylation and the other processes to help regenerate the microbiota, you get an opportunistic candida that's going to come in, candidiasis, and start clearing the path because it wants to take over because bacteria fight. So usually metals and candida go together. Mold and candida go together. There's bacteria that like to hang out with other bad guys and like to take over. So we have to remember that. So last thing I want to talk about. So we've talked about methylation, inflammation, nutrification, talk about detoxification. Let's do one more. Let's do
that is the key, right? So we always talk about GI and detox at the beginning of the year because you really want to lose weight. You need to make sure that the detox pathways are clear. You need to make sure the intestinal tract is clear. As they would say, you can't wash the dirty dishes if the sink is clogged, right? So you got to make sure all these pathways are clear. And you detoxify really from 5 major pathways, right? Exhalation, perspiration, urination, bowel movements, and for during women during their stages of life and menstruation years, healthy menstrual cycles. So we're looking at detox. A lot of people don't like to sweat. Some people don't have bowel movements every day. People have problems with urinary tract infections. You go on and on. Unhealthy menstrual cycles, right? Even people's breathing is limited. You hear people, the really shallow breathing. So we got to support detoxification in a healthy way every day. And it's not just something you do once in a while, right? It's a 24/7, 365. We're at the point now where we're swimming in the sea of toxicity. You could run, but you can't hide. You need to make sure you're supporting detox every way. So sweating, healthy cycles, bowel movements, all got to be clear. And there's nothing wrong with going for a nice, healthy walk and really getting that fresh air to help clear up some of the toxins, even from exhalation. Mm-hmm. And the old days of doing the water and juice fasts are really dated because we found with modern science with nutrition is that you need to support the body's ability to detoxify. It's a heavy energy and nutrient dependent process. Think about if you clean in the basement and hasn't been cleaned in years. It's going to take a lot of work. And the same with the body. The longer it's been since a cleanse or you've never done a cleanse and you're eating a lot of toxic, provocative foods, sugar, dairy, alcohol, those types of things, fast foods, you really need to make sure you get a cleanse over a period of time. And then each time you do it, it'll be a little less dramatic. But what we found is that, and that's why we created the Clean and Lean kit under your direction, and we updated a little bit over time. But it really comes down to what toxins are we ingesting? Usually it's by choice every day. And how quickly can we detoxify these? Because we tend to store toxins in fat cells. They're fat-soluble toxins. A lot of these toxins, which you mentioned earlier, that were found in people 40 years ago, and now we have these new endocrine disruptors like the glyphosates. These toxins are not part of the planet, right? So these are man-made. Our body is not set up to detoxify plastics, right? Perfumes, dioxins, solvents. So we need these super biohackers because you can't do it with milk thistle alone or an herb or water. It's not enough, folks. You need to be able to take these fat-soluble toxins. It's a very nutrient-dependent process. In the liver, you have 2 phases, phase 1 and phase 2. We're going to simplify it for today. But phase 1 requires a lot of active vitamins and antioxidants. Now, the challenge is if you get that fat-soluble compound to a water-soluble compound, there's an intermediate step in the middle. That becomes more toxic than the original toxin. So you need to get it from the fat-soluble, intermediate, to water-soluble as quick as possible. So usually people drop off in phase 2. They don't have the amino acid profile, the active folate.
Because they feel so bad.
Yes.
They feel bad. Yeah. So it's a good clarification point because you have people on these different types of detoxes and they don't have the right support. And all of a sudden they're having this massive clearing reaction and that it's not being driven through the right phases into the liver and, diluted and exited out the back door. And so it builds up and they feel sick. So we call it a clearing reaction, but really it's just the sign that the detox that you're using may not be sufficient in the nutrients that your body needs to move the toxins into different phases. So it's really important with that point.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's why we recommend having a powdered food we call Ultimate Shake that has the right amount of proteins, carbs, fats, fibers, plus it has the active vitamins and chelated trace minerals, plus some extra liver support. Folks, you can live on the Ultimate Shake, right? So that
I do
should be,
sometimes.
yeah.
I do live on it sometimes.
Yeah, see that or Super Shake, one or the other, right? But we have different variations of the shakes, but the Ultimate Shake is that. In fact, it is the ultimate. I love doing the Ultimate Shake and adding a scoop of greens right to it. When you do that, it does all the 90 essential amino acids and nutrients are provided. Your vitamins, your minerals, your micronutrients, your macronutrients, your fibers, your essential fats, your superfoods, and all these super biohackers, because DMG, which we mentioned, is an Ultimate Shake in greens, right? We also have this really cool ingredient called emodian. When we look at glutathione, we're ultimately trying to build glutathione up in the liver as a master antioxidant and one of the main nutrients you need to help detoxify. So what happens is that glutathione is usually deficient in people, and orally it has some good bioavailability. So a lot of people go for injections or IVs. What we found is Emodian by Gnosis, who is our partner that provides us with things like quadrifolate, the active folic acid. So these partners of ours have multiple ingredients, and the other ingredient we love is called Emodian. This is a patented glutathione. So what they did is they actually depleted glutathione in animal studies, and they want to see how much can they raise the glutathione back up. So I use generic glutathione, raised it about 50%. NAC, which is a really good N-acetylcysteine, raised it about 66%. The Emodian, the patented research trademark glutathione that we use in the greens and Live Complete, raised it 140%. So
Wow.
more than double more the efficiency of NAC and almost triple regular glutathione. So one is it got the levels back up in the blood. Part two of the study, which is even more impressive to me, is looking at liver function. So what they did is they injected the animals with the toxin, and how stressed the liver is determines how high the enzymes go. So at regular glutathione, the enzymes went to about 5,000. With NAC, they went up to about 5,000. With the Emodian, which is in the Live Complete and the Live and the Lean Greens, it only went up to 2,000. So more than double as effective.
So protected too.
Yeah. So we use it in the Live Complete as a concentrated capsule form. We also have DMG in there, curcumin, and our greens. Is that chocolate greens or raspberry or apple cinnamon?
Chocolate. This is chocolate. And I actually did what Christine said at the event the other night. I was thirsty yet craving a little chocolate. And so I made some hot water and I put a scoop of the greens in there and made hot chocolate out of it. And it was actually really good. And I put a little drizzle of honey in there because I'm not sweet enough. So I needed it more sweet. But by itself, it's just delicious. I use the chocolate in the Ultimate Shake probably. And now I've added a scoop of the keto powder. Because I just needed more fat and a little bit more protein that for me right now in the season of my life that I'm in. And I'll tell you, it's delicious. And sometimes I'll add the branched chain amino acids. Sometimes I'll add some power fuel. So it's, I like supplements and I use them in my practice and I take them, but I would prefer a powder over anything any day. And it's just easy. So I'm getting all my multivitamins, all my minerals, the phase 1 through phase 3 detoxification, the lean greens, because I'm hearing from today that we need preventative measures to the massive exposure of toxicity that we have no control over. From this time you walk outside, you don't know what's being sprayed, what's being dropped, what's being blown around. You just don't know. So I use the lean greens every day in that shake as well. And then I add other bells and whistles, but my base is always Ultimate Shake lean greens every day.
And normally people are concerned with, it's out of pocket cash investment for nutraceuticals.
They don't tend to worry about their Starbucks coffee every day.
In this example, using the Ultimate Shake and Greens or Super Shake and Greens or Keto or Best Way, using the protein with one of the colors, you get a very comprehensive meal for less than $5, folks. With your multivitamin, your essential fatty acid, prebiotic, probiotic, enzymes, macronutrients. You cannot find a meal on the planet that has that complex combination of nutrients in it. You couldn't find it. A lot of these things aren't even in the grocery store in food. So I'm all about eating healthy, good foods. But the shake to me really is the key to my day. It really sets the stage. Because remember, as you know, Food's information, folks. So the first meal of the day, I don't care if you're doing intermittent fasting or you're eating 4 or 5 or 6 meals a day. The first meal of the day sets the stage throughout the day. So, for example, if you eat with a lot of Americans, eat something really high in sugar, caffeine, nicotine, stimulants, whatever it may be, what happens is at the beginning of the day, you're raising blood sugar really high. Your body will respond by increasing insulin production, which insulin's job is to try and get the sugar in the cell. If there's too much there, some gets converted to fat. Then you go from higher blood sugar. It's not going to go low because it's so high. It's going to come down rapidly, though. And then how do you feel?
Yeah, tired.
Yeah. So what am I
Crash.
going to go for? Stimulant, caffeine, nicotine, sugar,
Chocolate. Yeah, sugar.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people go for that, and then around 3 o'clock they start crashing. They get tired. If you look at our team at 3 o'clock, no one's crashing, no one's getting tired. And at night, what happens is they have that cortisol spike at night, and then
Yeah.
they're like stressed and wired. I can't sleep. Does it
Mhm.
sound like you? If it does, we need to make sure we're addressing the food component. And the best way to do that is do it with a powdered food, because we know importantly what's in it, maybe more importantly what's not in it, right?
Right.
People look at calories. We say don't count calories. What do we count?
You count chemicals.
Yeah. And there's no chemicals in the ultimate shake with the greens or any of the combinations of those things. So you can adjust them at different times, but that's really our go-to. And it sets the stage. Now you have a little bit of a blood sugar increase, a little bit of insulin increase. Without the fluctuation, your energy is real high. Your cravings are eliminated, right? Your body now is stimulating fat burning rather than fat storage. And the next food and meal of the day you eat, you'll eat less volume and less processed. This was done all the way back in like 2003, where they did a study with kids. And what they did was they had them in 3 groups. One group can eat a high sugar cereal like Fruity Pebbles. The second group was moderate blood sugar, and the third one was low glycemic index. And the rest of the day, unrestricted, they can eat whatever they want. The group that ate the high sugar cereal, over 80% more calories, and they tended to go for the high sugar meals.
Wow.
And you
Amazing.
notice that when you do a shake, don't you feel better?
I do. I mean, it's, I mean, unfortunately, shakes have been positioned for, since the 80s for weight loss and meal replacements. And I use my shake because I like it and because it does make me feel better. And sometimes I just don't know what I'm hungry for, but I can always drink a shake. Sometimes I don't have great food available if we're traveling, but I can bring a shake, right? And put it in my NF shaker cup and mix it up and drink it with just water, and it tastes great. So it's an easy way. And you're talking about cost. And I think that's a big thing because, people always talk about how expensive healthy is. And, it doesn't take a lot of time or a lot of effort to get sick, but it does take effort to get healthy. And that involves not only changing what you put in your body, but your mindset on it. I always teach people to health budget. I'm like, let's look at the non-necessities in your life that actually detract from your health and add those up dollar by dollar. Let's talk about the 14 different streaming subscriptions you have, and you really are just going to sit on the couch and watch TV, which is fine to relax once in a while. But if you're doing it for hours on end and you're not moving, that's a detraction. So let's take that money on 3 subscriptions and get rid of them and put it in your health budget. All right, let's go to your junk food drawer. Let's open that up. Let's see how much these things of Oreos cost, $7, this bag of chips. And we go through all that. And I say, all right, take half of what you're spending on your junk food drawer and put it in your health budget. And usually as people go through that, they're like astounded at the money that they're wasting on things that actually detract from their health. How much time will someone stand in a line for a coffee from Starbucks? And I'm not down on Starbucks. I mean, they do what they do, and once in a while is fine, but it's a daily habit for people. So is, going to the donut shop and grabbing a donut. And I know some of that is habitual and nice and it's community, and I'm not downing that part either. But when you do it every day and you spend that amount of money on it, I mean, a Starbucks coffee is $6 to $8, hands
Oh,
down,
yeah.
hands down, like easy on average, more or less, depending on what you're adding to it. So you're spending that every day. You're going and you're eating out at lunch, maybe at a fast food restaurant, whatever. If you take that money and you just put it in a jar, and at the end of the month, I promise you, if you cut simple habits, you'll have anywhere from $100 to $400 to spend on healthy things every single month.
Yeah,
Every single month.
easily. I mean, you look at the lines at the fast food places, Starbucks,
Mhm.
restaurants are packed. So go
Pack
out to eat, it's going to cost you
the
$100
door.
just, yeah,
Mhm.
just for a
I
couple
stood in the
people.
line for Starbucks at the airport. There were so many people because it was 6 o'clock in the morning. There weren't a lot of available coffees there. I was traveling and I was like, I'm just going to get a coffee, like, and I'll just detox from all the chemicals later. So I'm standing in line an hour to get, that's how many people were in the line. And then, I mean, nothing else was available in this airport, but it made me think, I'm like, an hour of people's time and myself included, I'm criticizing myself for a Starbucks coffee. Nothing against Starbucks, but I was like, wow, it just made me think. You know what I mean? Like it just really makes you think. People
Yeah.
do that every day. I would never
Yeah.
do that
I
every day. Ever.
travel now with my shaker bottle. I brought it to
Mhm.
Ohio this week, brought it to my dad's this week. I'll bring with me next week. And I bring my super shake, peanut butter and chocolate with the chocolate greens. That was the recipe this week. A
So
scoop
good.
of each. Sometimes you wake up tired. You're like, oh, I could really go for some eggs or pancakes, whatever you're into. And I was
Mhm.
like, you know what? I'll be so much happier, right, that I did the shake. And I did this morning. And then within a few minutes, I was feeling great. And I was proud too that I didn't go for that food, right? It's
Yeah.
more expensive and it's definitely unhealthier. And it's really the habit that becomes a ritual of doing that shake a day. I guarantee if you do a shake every morning for 30 days, at the end of 30 days, you will feel better regardless of what's going on with your health right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because we always say, the two paths of dis-ease is deficiency and toxicity. And you can fill those gaps. And in that greens, you have your detoxification pathway as the same as you do in the ultimate shake. So you're working on nutrification and detoxification. So this has been amazing as always. I know the value of everything you do, and I'm hoping that the listeners now understand that walking into big box stores or ordering products that you don't know what the wrong ingredients are, that don't have some unique formulations and ingredients in there that can really work around your genetic predisposition if you have that, or the environmental assault that you're exposed to every day, you're not really getting value out of what you're putting money into. And you should be investing in your health. Your health is valuable now, not when you get sick. When you get sick is when everyone's like, oh, I got to pay attention to my health, like these catastrophic events. If you would start investing in your health now, then you don't have to pay for the disease later.
Yeah,
So
just like a
start
car,
thinking about
pay me
your
now or pay me later,
That's right.
right? And you got to remember, it's just like working out. You as a trainer and myself, that was our backgrounds. People never quit working out because they're in too good a shape,
I
right?
know.
They
Right?
generally work out because they're not getting results. So I'd always ask people when they wanted to train with me, I says, are you on a training program or are you just working out? What's the difference? I says, well, a
Mhm.
training program is customized for you, your lifestyle, your level, and your goals. Same thing. Are you taking vitamins or are you on a wellness program? If you're not getting results, you need to change what you're doing. Tracy has an army of healthcare professionals that you can work with, different ages and sexes and locations and styles and testing. You got to work with some kind of coach. Even I do, right?
Mhm.
And if you're not getting results, you got to change what you're doing. I know you
Yeah.
have the basket of shame. Paulina has it. Like, hey, it's not just product because there's no shortage of products out there. But when you
Yeah,
dress a
my basket
lifestyle,
of shame is the garbage can. I don't
yeah.
even have a basket. I'm like, people will text me a label of a product and I'll look at it and they're like, what do I do with this? And I'm like, walk 5 feet to your garbage can and throw it away. Now, here's the link of what I actually want you to get, and I'll tell you how to take it. We have to stop looking for the BBD, right? The bigger, better deal, the supersize me mindset. That guy who did supersize me, who went out there and bought the biggest possible fast food for the least amount of money, the biggest possible supplement bottle for the least amount of money. Remember, he's no longer alive. I just want everyone to understand this. He died. So the supersize me mentality, more bang for your buck, just means a cheaper product that's going to have the wrong forms, the wrong ingredients, and a lot of toxicity. And when you take that every day, you're taking a little bit of poison every day, and that's going to add up a lot over a month, 6 months, a year, and a lifetime. So pay the extra, what, $5 and get yourself a quality supplement from Nutritional Frontiers so that you at least know you're doing one great thing a day. Sometimes I don't do a lot of great things in a day, but if I drink my shake, I'm like, you know what? I did a really good thing today. It's just
Yeah,
one.
and when you do that, you know, even today I go, oh, I'm so glad I didn't eat, you know, the food
Mhm.
at the hotel, right?
Yeah.
And even though you feel like you deserve it and it's a little cheat, it's like, you know, nowadays you can't have that cheat as often as you used to because nowadays the food is a lot more toxic. So,
Yeah.
you know, one bad day can wipe out 6 good days. So be
Yeah, it
careful
can.
with that. Go with the shake a day. I even use them on the holidays. A great way to start every day. And at least you know, hey, I got my 90 essential nutrients in. So even if the rest of the day isn't the best, I did really good. But you'll notice when you start the day with that, just like you start the day with a healthy meal, you're going to eat less and feel better throughout the day because your blood sugar is under control. And that's really what you're trying to do is make it a mind, body, and soul connection, not just, hey, basing everything on weight. So
Right.
I appreciate you having me on here. This was a blast.
Awesome.
I love doing it. Hopefully I can be invited back down the road. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you back. As I said before, all the links are in the description of this podcast. Make sure you check out the Nutritional Frontiers line on my store, as well as if you're a health professional, please reach out to them and get an account. I'm sure Jamie will give you lots of education and maybe a few samples that you can try. Jamie, thanks for being here. And really, thank you for everything that you're doing in the industry and helping us all be healthier.
All right, one last thing since you threw it out there. If you're a healthcare professional or even a consumer, if you contact us at Nutritional Frontiers, we'll send you a free new client care package, which has some incredible samples and education in there. Also, go to our website, nutritionalfrontiers.com. There's over 50 videos on there right now you can learn from, plus all the research, the patent research, trademark ingredients. So thanks, Dr. Tracy. You're awesome.
Thank you. All right, guys. Talk to you next time, and thanks for tuning in.